Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, I am fascinated with money. Because when you look at any decision in life, any triumph, any failure, any drama, it's tied to money in some way. And how you choose to spend your money, or how you choose not to spend your money, will ultimately become the story of your life. When you look at the financial decisions that we make in our consumerist society, they're not based on logic or reason or even value, but they're simply unintentional. Instead of consuming for utility, we're consuming for excitement. Instead of consuming for practicality, we're consuming for status. Instead of consuming intentionally, we're consuming unintentionally. And all these unintentional decisions that we're making are leading to unintentional consequences. Consequences that are ultimately costing us our lives. I'm not saying that consumerism is bad. I'm not saying that it's bad to own things. What I'm saying is that consuming unintentional leads to many consequences in life. So in this video, I want to make you more aware of the consequences that come from unintentional consumerism. Because when you realize these consequences, you realize that the choice you make between consuming intentionally or unintentionally is really a matter of life and death. So here are 10 consequences of unintentional consumerism. Consequence 1. Unintentional consumerism starts as a pleasure, then turns into an addiction. When you think about any addiction in life, whether that's with drugs, gambling, or even unintentional consumerism, it all starts out with getting pleasure from the activity. Then you try to recreate that pleasure, but you need a bigger hit, then a bigger one. And with each hit, you get further and further away from satisfaction until you realize that you no longer have self-control and that once pleasure becomes an addiction. And it starts to manipulate you. It starts to control you. We need to start identifying unintentional consumerism as an addiction because it is. People are getting packages on their doorstep every single day. People are considering shopping a hobby, but most of buying now is solely for the excitement involved in the purchase. Unintentional consumerism is an addiction. It eats away your money extremely quickly, and it doesn't provide you anything in exchange. It's a consequence that ultimately costs you your money, your sanity, and control over your life. Consequence 2. Unintentional consumerism robs you of life's most precious resource. If I ever need something, or if I ever want something, I never hesitate to buy it, but I'm extremely cautious with my money because I'd rather use my money on the most precious resource in the world, and that is time. Money really just represents time, and the more money you have, the more control you have over your time. The less money you have, the less control you have over your time. It's really that simple. When you spend all your money, you get trapped in this vicious circle of make money, spend money, which creates the need to make more money. You're not depriving yourself when you're spending less. You're empowering yourself. You're giving yourself more control over the most precious resource in the world, and that's your time. And unintentional consumerism eats away your money extremely quickly. I can go to my computer right now and spend thousands of dollars with a click of a button, but that will just eat away my money extremely quickly. And the consequence of that is that it robs me of the most precious resource in the world, and that is my time. Consequence 3. Unintentional consumerism distracts you from what's truly important. I think that there are some things in this world that are opinions and other things that are truths with a capital T. And I think that what makes up a rich human experience is not about how big someone's house is or what type of car they drive, but it's about relationships, community, and experiences. And I do not think that's my opinion. I think that is a truth with a capital T. And if someone were to disagree with me on that, I would just say that they have lost touch of what it means to be a human. They have lost touch of what is truly important in life. Being able to travel the world has enriched my life and made me see that although we might speak different languages and we might use different hand gestures, we're pretty much all the same. We're all just going through this human experience, and we all find happiness in very similar things. And unintentional consumerism distracts you from that. Unintentional consumerism makes you think that stuff and consumption are important. But the consequence of following that path is missing out on what is truly important in this world. Consequence 4. Unintentional consumerism deprives you of deprivation. We're living in this world where everyone just wants what is easy and convenient. We're living in a world where even picking up a prepared sandwich is a lot of work. But when we constantly seek this easy and convenient path, we're missing out on the benefits of deprivation. About a month ago, my car engine died, and for the last month I've been carless, and it sucks. I've been having to be extremely dependent on people, and I've been very limited into where I've been going. But with all this, I've gained an extreme appreciation for the car, and once I get it back, I'll never take a car ride for granted, and the deprivation has taught me appreciation. Unintentional consumerism tricks you into thinking that deprivation is a bad thing, that we should always be seeking what is easy and convenient. But when you always seek what is easy and convenient, you end up never appreciating anything. And the consequence of living a life without deprivation is living a life without appreciation. Consequence 5. Unintentional consumerism assumes that humans are inherently greedy. Ladies and gentlemen, ever since those ancient Egyptians started building those pyramids, I think that we've been going through something as a species. We've been chasing greed for a while. Consumerism kind of hints that humans are inherently greedy, that humans are inherently selfish and materialistic. But I don't think that's true. I just think that's been the dominant ideology for a long time. And when you live in a society that's extremely consumeristic and extremely materialistic, it's hard not to be unintentional. It's hard to go against the norm. I don't think that humans are inherently greedy. I think that humans are inherently cooperative, that we work together, but greed has just been the dominant ideology for a long time. And I think it takes a strong person to go against unintentional consumerism and just be more intentional about your decisions to seek a better world. Because the consequences that the ancient Egyptians faced with that greed and feeding the greed machine, it didn't seem like a happy ending, ladies and gentlemen. Consequence 6. Unintentional consumerism makes you live on autopilot. There's a quote I like by a really famous guy. You might have heard of him. He's dead now, but his name was Benjamin Franklin. And he said, many people die at 25 and aren't buried until they're 75. When we become an adult and get all the responsibilities that come with being an adult, we quickly just give up and spend our entire adulthood on autopilot and just go through the motions of life. But there's a reason that adulthood sucks, and it's called unintentional consumerism. Why do we have to deal with clutter? Unintentional consumerism. Why do we have money problems? Unintentional consumerism. Why is it impossible to keep up? Unintentional consumerism. Unintentional consumerism is the very thing that makes adulthood suck. It's the thing that makes people just go through the motions in life or just live on autopilot. And as I said in the beginning of this video, how you choose or how you choose not to spend your money will ultimately become the story of your life. Adulthood doesn't have to suck, but the consequence of unintentional consumerism is a life on autopilot. Consequence 7. Unintentional consumerism makes waste the norm. When I walk the streets in my neighborhood in Colorado, there's not a single piece of trash on the streets. And everything right now seems to be recyclable. And according to advertisements, we're living in a very green country. But the reality is, we live in an extremely wasteful country. I mean, waste is the norm. And if we went 1 week without trash service, we would see the reality of how much we're consuming. Unintentional consumerism is extremely wasteful, and it encourages waste. I looked it up, and it takes 2,255 gallons of water to make one pair of shoes. It takes 2,636 gallons of water to make one pair of jeans, and it takes 3 gallons of water to make one sheet of paper. It's estimated that 91% of plastic doesn't get recycled. Companies use recycling as a tool to distract you of how much we're actually consuming. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just rather not know what the consequences will be if we continue to embrace waste. So I consume less because I really just don't want to know what the consequence will be. Consequence 8. Unintentional consumerism undermines the importance of community. Ladies and gentlemen, every now and then I love to trash talk delivery apps like Uber Eats or grocery deliveries, and it always gets someone in the comment section a little bit riled up. But for a while now, I've been trying to figure out how I can effectively explain why I don't like them, because it has nothing to do with money. And once I took my trip to Ecuador, I realized it immediately. These things, these easy and convenient things, if that's your only option, then do it. Obviously, do it if that's your only option. However, what if these inconvenient tasks, like getting in your car to pick up food, or standing in line at grocery checkout, or waiting at the counter of a bar for the bartender to get you a drink, were the very things that built a community? What if these small, insignificant interactions were vital for our mental health? Technology makes things easier and more convenient, but usually technology also takes away the human aspect of things. And unintentional consumerism undermines the importance of community. It's always seeking what is easy and convenient. But I think the consequence of that is that it takes away the very things that make up humanity. Consequence 9. Unintentional consumerism promotes the wrong message. Ladies and gentlemen, on my journey through the YouTube, I have learned that content creators are just responding to what they think their audience wants. I mean, if I started to make a bunch of videos about interior design, I don't think that people would be as interested anymore. And I think this is how all businesses work. I think that businesses are just responding to what they think their audience or their customers want. And how you choose to spend your money will determine what products companies will offer. For example, if people started to order a bunch of salads at McDonald's, then McDonald's would put more salads on their menus. But, who are these people that go to a hamburger joint to get a salad? But unintentional consumerism undermines the importance and the power that a consumer has. And how you spend your money or how you don't spend your money will determine what products are created. And when you're unintentional with your decisions, the consequence usually promotes the wrong message. Consequence 10. Unintentional consumerism makes us the weird ones. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly read just about every comment that you guys write as much as my mental health can take. And the most frequent comment I get is, what you're saying is true, but most people think differently. And you're right. Living a less materialistic life is not the norm. And you have to conform a little bit, otherwise you're going to miss out on a lot of things. And I don't know the answer to that question. Maybe just recognize it. Maybe just recognize that this relationship we have with money and stuff is not the healthiest one. And start talking about it. Start having conversations. Start making this issue more aware, because at the end of the day, that is all you can do. But I don't mind being a little bit weird, because I think that being a little bit weird is better than the consequences that come from unintentional consumerism. And with that, muchas gracias, que tenga un buen día, nos vemos, chicos.